If you're in your 20s or 30s, there's one uncomfortable truth you need to hear right now. Building wealth is not mostly about how much money you make. It's about how much money you keep, how early you start, and most importantly, how many financial mistakes you avoid before they quietly destroy your future. Because the biggest wealth killers usually don't look dangerous when they first show up. They look normal, they look fun, they look convenient, they look like something everyone else is doing, and that's exactly why they're so expensive. So in this video, I want to break down the biggest wealth killers in your 20s and 30s, the ones that hold people back for years, sometimes decades, and how to avoid them before they cost you your freedom. The first wealth killer is lifestyle inflation. This is the moment you start making more money and somehow still feel broke. You get a raise, so you upgrade the apartment. You get a better job, so you upgrade the car. You start earning well, so now every meal has to be delivery, every vacation has to be bigger, and every purchase has to match your lifestyle. And before you know it, your expenses rise just as fast as your income. That's the trap. The problem with lifestyle inflation is that it feels like progress, but financially, you're standing still. A lot of people double their income and still never build real wealth because they also double their spending. Wealth is what you don't see. It's not the watch, the car, the luxury rent payment, or the expensive nights out. It's the assets quietly growing in the background while nobody's paying attention. The second wealth killer is high interest debt. Credit card debt is one of the fastest ways to sabotage your financial future. When you're paying double-digit interest rates, you're basically running uphill on a treadmill. You can work harder, make more money, and stay busy. But your progress gets eaten alive by interest. And the worst part is that debt steals your future income. Money you haven't even earned yet is already spoken for. That means fewer choices, more stress, and less flexibility if something goes wrong. If you want to build wealth, high-interest debt has to be treated like an emergency, not a sometime next year problem, not a I'll figure it out later situation. An emergency. Third is waiting too long to invest. This one doesn't feel urgent when you're young, which is why it's so dangerous. A lot of people assume they'll start investing after they make more money, after they get more stable, after they pay off everything, after life gets less chaotic. But life rarely gets less chaotic. There's always another expense, another reason, another delay. And every year you wait, you lose the single most powerful factor in wealth building: time. You do not need to start big, you need to start early. Even small amounts matter when they're given enough time to compound. The person who starts sooner with less often ends up ahead of the person who starts later with more. That's how powerful consistency is. The fourth wealth killer is buying status instead of buying freedom. A lot of people spend money to look successful instead of becoming successful. They finance things to impress people they don't even like. They make financial decisions based on appearance instead of long-term value. And the truth is, fake wealth is expensive. Real wealth is quiet. Real wealth buys options. It buys time. It buys the ability to say no to a bad job, leave a toxic environment, take a risk, start a business, move to a better city, or simply breathe without panic every time a bill shows up. If your spending is designed to get approval, you'll always be financially dependent on other people's opinions. That is not freedom. The fifth wealth killer is not increasing your income intentionally. Yes, saving matters. Yes, budgeting matters. But at some point, you can only cut so much. There's a limit to how much you can save, but there's far less of a limit to how much you can earn. Too many people stay financially stuck because they only focus on reducing expenses instead of improving skills, negotiating better pay, building side income, or creating leverage. In your 20s and 30s, your greatest asset is usually not your current bank balance. It's your earning potential. Invest in skills, learn how to communicate better, learn how to sell, learn how to negotiate, learn how to solve valuable problems. The market rewards people who can create value, and the more valuable you become, the easier wealth building gets. The sixth wealth killer is having no emergency buffer. A lot of financial disasters are not really caused by one big mistake. They're caused by one unexpected expense hitting someone who had no margin: a medical bill, car repair, job loss, family emergency, rent increase. One hit is all it takes to push someone into debt. An emergency fund doesn't make you rich overnight, but it protects everything else you're building. It gives you breathing room. It turns a crisis into an inconvenience instead of a collapse. That matters more than people realize. The seventh wealth killer is copying the financial behavior of broke people with good branding. Just because someone looks successful online doesn't mean they're financially solid. Social media has made it incredibly easy to confuse attention with wealth. The rented lifestyle, the leased car, the luxury trip, the designer outfit, none of that tells you whether a person is building assets or drowning in payments. If your financial standard is based on what looks good on the internet, you're going to lose. Build your strategy around math, not marketing. And finally, the eighth wealth killer is thinking small mistakes don't matter. People ruin their finances slowly, not all at once. It's the monthly payment that lasts forever. It's the subscriptions you forgot about. It's the spending you justify because it's not that much. It's the habit of choosing convenience over control again and again until your financial life becomes too heavy to carry. Wealth works the same way. It also builds slowly. Small wins count. Small habits count. Small investments count. Small disciplines repeated for years can completely change your life. So if you're in your 20s or 30s, here's the bottom line. Your financial future is not decided by one dramatic moment. It's decided by the everyday choices that either build momentum or destroy it. Avoid lifestyle inflation, eliminate toxic debt, start investing early, stop buying status, increase your income, build an emergency fund, ignore fake wealth, respect small decisions. Because the goal is not to look rich for a few years. The goal is to become financially unbreakable for the rest of your life. And if you can avoid these wealth killers early, you won't just have more money. You'll have more freedom, more peace, and more control over how your future turns out. That is the real flex. Let me say something that a lot of people don't want to hear. Most people do not lose their wealth because of one huge disaster. They lose it because of a few common habits that seem harmless in the moment, but compound into years of wasted opportunity. And if you're in your 20s or 30s, this matters more than ever, because these are the exact years when small decisions have the biggest long-term impact. This is the stage of life where you either create financial momentum or accidentally build a lifestyle that keeps you stuck. So let's talk about the biggest wealth killers in your 20s and 30s, and why avoiding them now could completely change the trajectory of your life. The first wealth killer is living like your future is guaranteed. A lot of people spend as if tomorrow's income is already promised. They assume the job will always be there, the economy will stay fine, their health will cooperate, and nothing major will go wrong. So they commit to monthly payments, expensive leases, high rent, and fixed costs that only work if everything keeps going perfectly. But financial strength is not built around best-case scenarios. It's built around resilience. The more of your income that's already committed before the month even begins, the more fragile your life becomes. Wealth is not just about growth. It's about stability. If one setback can wipe out your progress, then your financial foundation was never that strong to begin with. The second wealth killer is confusing income with wealth. Someone can make a lot of money and still be broke. That sounds ridiculous until you see it happen over and over again. High earners often fall into the trap of assuming they're safe just because they bring in a good paycheck. But if all that money goes toward lifestyle, debt, taxes, and expensive obligations, then what's left? Wealth is not what passes through your hands. Wealth is what stays with you. Wealth is ownership. Wealth is equity. Wealth is cash flow from things that don't require your constant effort. Wealth is assets that keep working even when you don't. If you only focus on earning and never focus on keeping, investing, and owning, you can stay trapped on the income treadmill forever. The third wealth killer is financial denial. This one is subtle. People avoid checking their bank accounts. They don't want to total up what they owe. They don't track spending because they're afraid of what they'll see. They tell themselves they're figuring it out while quietly losing control. But avoidance is expensive. The moment you stop paying attention to your money starts controlling you. If you don't know how much is coming in, how much is going out, what your debt costs, what your savings rate is, or how much you invest each month, then you're not operating a financial plan. You're just reacting. And reaction is not a strategy. The fourth wealth killer is outsourcing your financial thinking. A friend tells you what stock to buy. A random creator tells you what side hustle to start. A trend online tells you what rich people are doing, so you copy it not because it fits your life, but because it sounds exciting. This is dangerous because borrowed conviction is weak conviction. If you don't understand why you're doing something, you'll abandon it the second things get uncomfortable. Wealth building is actually pretty boring most of the time. It's not about chasing every new opportunity. It's about building a system you can stick to for years. The people who win financially are often not the loudest or the most aggressive. They're the most consistent. The fifth wealth killer is upgrading your liabilities before upgrading your assets. This happens all the time. People get a little more money and immediately improve their lifestyle before improving their balance sheet. They upgrade the car before their savings. They upgrade the apartment before their investments. They upgrade the image before the infrastructure. That backwards order is why so many people look successful but feel trapped. Imagine if every raise, bonus, or windfall first strengthened your financial base. Emergency fund first, debt reduction first, investments first, skills first, assets first. Then if there's room, lifestyle second. That order changes everything. The sixth wealth killer is ignoring the cost of wasted years. A lot of financial advice focuses on the cost of bad purchases, but not enough people talk about the cost of delay. Delay is expensive. Staying in a low-paying role too long is expensive. Never learning a high-income skill is expensive. Waiting years to invest is expensive. Staying passive while inflation erodes your cash is expensive. Your 20s and 30s are incredibly valuable because they give you room to recover, adapt, and compound. But that advantage only works if you use it. Time is either your greatest asset or your greatest regret. The seventh wealth killer is building your life around convenience. Convenience is one of the easiest ways to leak money without noticing it. Constant delivery, impulse purchases, paying to save time you never reinvest productively, premium everything, financing because it feels easier, choosing the fast option every time because friction feels uncomfortable. Now, obviously, convenience is not always bad, but if convenience becomes your default setting, your expenses rise while your discipline weakens. And once that habit is locked in, it becomes very hard to live below your means because your means keep expanding around comfort. The eighth wealth killer is having no clear definition of enough. This is a major one. If you don't decide what kind of life actually matters to you, the world will decide for you. And the world will always try to sell you a more expensive version of success. A bigger place, a better car, a more impressive vacation, a more polished identity. And if you keep chasing a moving target with no personal definition of enough, you'll always feel behind, no matter how much progress you make. Wealth gets easier when you know what you're actually building toward. Financial independence, time freedom, security for your family, the ability to work because you want to, not because you have to. Clarity creates discipline. Discipline creates wealth. So here's the takeaway. In your 20s and 30s, wealth is less about perfection and more about direction. You do not need to make every perfect move. You just need to stop making the moves that keep destroying your momentum. Stop living like the future owes you certainty. Stop mistaking income for wealth. Stop avoiding your numbers. Stop copying people who profit from your attention. Stop upgrading liabilities first. Stop wasting the years that matter most. Stop paying endlessly for comfort. And stop chasing a version of success you never consciously chose. Because wealth is not built by accident. Built when you make deliberate choices that protect your time, your energy, and your money. And if you can avoid these wealth killers now, you give yourself something far more valuable than a higher bank balance. You give yourself options. You give yourself breathing room. You give yourself a life that belongs to you. And in the long run, that's worth more than anything money can buy.